Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. The video is going to be about how to take a stock model photo reference and use it to design an American traditional pinup tattoo, right? We're going to go over how we just use mostly the outline shapes, what we're going to choose to accentuate and decentuate, like maybe making the waist a little bit smaller, maybe making the legs a little bit longer, what we're going to do with the hair and hands, because, drawing all 5 of those fingers isn't necessarily something that we're going to be able to get to with the simplistic American traditional outline that is classically used. So yeah, if that video sounds interesting to you, I'm Clay, the Techie Tattooer. Let's just get to the iPad. All right, folks, so here we are on Pinterest. I just looked up female reference poses photography, and right here on this first page, we have this awesome pose, and we're just gonna go ahead and use it to design our American traditional female pinup because I really like her proportions, and I really think that that pose is a really fun design. There we go. Just go ahead and slide from the bottom left corner to the upper right corner. We're going to just save this to photos and get over to Procreate. Here is our photo. Going to go ahead and just make sure it's the right size here. Yep, that looks good. Going to click this in, take the opacity of the layer way down. And so we're going to go from, actually, I am going to draw some guidelines on here really quick with my inking pen. Make sure that it is, yep, stabilization is way down on the technical pen. I'm going to go ahead and keep this light blue. Just kind of show some of the changes I'm going to make here. Yep, probably make the ankles a little bit thinner. Yeah, probably make those ankles just a smidge thinner because we're accentuating stuff, right? These are not actually proportional models, right? There's nothing wrong with her proportions in real life. We're just going to go ahead and make some not so realistic changes for our pinup. But you know what? I think that's pretty good. Yeah, there's your belly button. Might make the breasts a little bit larger for the pinup. Yeah, probably just cuz. All right, now we're going to go ahead and get over. Actually, we'll bring the opacity down on this ever so slightly. Now we're on a new layer. Grab my calligraphy monoline, and now we're just going to start making choices. So because I've already made the choice to kind of bring her waist in a bit, I'm going to start with this hip curve here. Go to this thigh curve there. Give it a nice swoop and then bring it in gently like that. Then we're going to want to make sure we're nice and even across this belly button line here, which is why I did that center line so I can stay nice and perpendicular from it. And we're going to give a fun little hip lump here. Yep. And then the same kind of swoopy, shallow S shape where we come in from here and we go to there. Yep, I like that. Nope, too realistic. So we're going to take this line here from where the hip is and just bring it down and around like that. Not exactly like that because I want it fatter at the top and then a little bit thinner to come down, right? Because this is American traditional, and so we're going as minimal as possible with our line work. Nope, we're going to bring that down a bit again because we do want it to kind of line up with this hip to show how bent her hips are. Yeah, that should be good. I might need to edit this out a little bit, but for now, that's good enough. We're going to give her a little bit of a rib cage and then bring it to the hip. Maybe not quite that much. A little bit of a rib cage, bring it to the hip. There we go. Little bit of a rib cage, bring it to the hip. Yep. And then, like I was saying, we're going to experiment with possibly making the breasts larger. So we're going to ignore that for now and continue on with the knees. I'm going to ignore that knee lump, as it were, and just go straight smooth into the ankle that we are going to make a little bit thinner. Bring that up a little bit higher in the calf muscle there. Yep, more like that. Yeah. Yep. Right, there we are. And so because it's American traditional, notice how I just gave her a big toe lump, and then the rest of her foot doesn't really have anything going on with it there. And we're going to go a little bit deeper for the back of her knee, because then that's going to give us the ability to accentuate that calf muscle just a little bit more. Although I think I want the calf muscle just a little bit higher. Yep, so it's more along with the reality lump. I'm going to bring her knee in like this, and then the front of her calf lump. Nope, that looks like it's too low. So notice how when we zoom out, it makes it look like this is a far longer hip, even though that's reality, right? There's nothing, right? So I'm going to go onto a new layer and we're going to experiment with this a little bit, where I'm actually going to bring this whole shape up a smidge. So we're going to make it a little bit shallower. So what we're going to want to do is kind of put her knee here-ish, right? Because notice how when it comes below this, it looks weird. So we want these to kind of be at the same equidistant level here perpendicularly. Yeah, even though her hip is dipped below, right? Her hip is dipped below. So we do want to consider that. There we go. I like that better. Again, we're just going to kind of use a little bit of a toe lump. I'm going to back off behind this. Yep. But we can't have the big toe in front. We got to have these toes in front. There we are. Much nicer, much nicer. Okay. Now we're going to go up to the shoulders and neck here. I'm going to go ahead and go onto a different layer just in case I need to do some erasing. So this is where the back of her ear is. So her neck's about here in reality, but because it's a pinup, we're going to want to make it thinner. We'll give her a little bit more accentuation. Right, making her elbow a little bit smaller and more pronounced. Creating a new line there that doesn't really represent reality because it actually comes all the way here if you look at that fold there, right? That's right, it comes all the way to there, but we're not going to want to do that. Then we're going to see how many of her fingers we can actually get in here. Notice how I've actually only given her finger the one joint. I'm not giving it this second joint because I don't want it to look too funky. Going to do the same thing there where I'm only going to give it the one joint. And that thumb is a little bit thick. Again, not because her thumb is actually thick in reality, but because pinups are weird. There we go. And so while that is not a realistic, really looking hand, as you can see, those are the kind of choices that I've had to make where I made her thumb meet whatever this part is here smaller, right? I brought the thumb back by doing that. And yeah, you know, if you were really doing this, you'd want to clean these lines up just a little bit. But yeah, and then notice how also we're keeping these lines here nice and even along this same kind of arch here. Yep. And then like I was saying, even though her neck is right here, we're going to want to bring it in just a little bit. Maybe actually not so far on this back side. Very good. And then I love the way she's got the little, I don't even know what to call that fold, but it looks so good. So we're going to keep it. We're going to hold it down. Yep, that looks really good. And then we're going to keep that little fold there because that just looks amazing. It helps so that you can tell she is a thicker model, but again, not in a bad way. In a this is how we want our classic pinup girls to look sort of way. There we are. No. And see, and that's too long a shoulder. Even though that's actually how her shoulder thing goes, we want it to be even with this one. And so again, this is just weird little considerations that we're going to want to make as we're doing this to balance this out in a really specific, simplistic art style. Yeah, and I might even bring this, even though that's not realistic, I'm going to bring this up a little bit higher. Exactly, because then that gives me the room to bring this down into that ever so slightly. Yep. Now I'm going to duplicate this one and then flip it and bring it over. Go to a little bit of a twist there. Bring it in a little. And so the reason I'm bringing it in a little is because I'm using this stomach center line to kind of figure out where the middle of that's going to be there. Yep. Nice. This looking good. And maybe I do. Yep. I'm gonna bring that just that little tiny pokey line up there. So what I'm doing is, even though you can see these fingers straight on, I'm gonna turn them just ever so slightly so that I've got the top of the finger there, and then it kind of does more of like a biscotti shape, I guess, whatever we want to call that. I think that's the technical term, biscotti fingers. Yep. And then I'm going to make it by making those fingers cut off like that. I'm going to make it look like she's got those little fingers bent there. Or maybe even actually bend them. And see, by bending that one, I don't need to show the other one, right? You could, but you don't need to. And then again, we're going to fudge some stuff where this isn't really where her thumb comes out, right? Notice how her thumb is actually much longer, but it looks good like this. Yep, and she should have a much longer thumb than that, but no, we're not going to let that happen. It just makes your fingers look longer and cuter that way. All right, now on to the face. Faces are the hardest things to do with pinups because people want to add a bunch of detail, and pinups just don't want that kind of detail in the face. No. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to have to make some choices here, folks. I'm going to start with the outside of her face and see if I do or don't want the nose poking across her silhouette of this line here, which means we would bring all of her facial expressions or her face shapes in just a little bit from that to change, to have a simpler perspective on the face. I'm going to duplicate this just in case I don't like the changes I'm making here. And then, all right, and then if I wanted to bring her features back a little bit, it's really classic to do just 2 nostrils for your pinup. I don't really like how that's working out. So I'm going to give her a kind of an anime treatment there. We're going to get rid of this section. Bring her eyelash through it. Part of the problem here is that my line work is too thick to get a beautiful pinup done, but that's kind of the point. I kind of want to show how hard it is to use really simple line work to make a beautiful woman, and yet that it is possible. It just takes some work. Get those eyes looking in that same kind of direction. There we go. I like that. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get rid of the reference here and the lines, and we'll see what we're working with. Cool. So notice how her head's actually probably a little small. So, or maybe actually, maybe we just scale this hip back ever so slightly. There we go. I like that a little bit better. So yeah, I am going to squish all of these down, duplicate it, and I'm going to shrink this down just a smidge. Yep, I know that's like the tiniest difference ever, but I really like how that's now proportioned where the head's just a little bit bigger. Yep, I like that better. Okay. Exactly. So that way she's kind of got balanced, but not balanced little devil horns at the ends of her hair there. I'm going to go ahead and give her little tiny sexy pooch and a belly button. Yeah. And then honestly, that's where I would leave the outline. And then it's going to be up to you on how to clothe her and how you want all the rest of that to work out, right? There's a million different things we can do with this kind of design. Me personally, I think it'd be really fun to put some kind of flowy dress sort of thing on her, right? And so we'll give her, so that things don't get in the way of the fingers, we'll give her a really low cut halter top. Kind of looks like a swimsuit top there. Yep, and then something like that. Duplicating this layer so that way if I don't like the clothing options, I can just go ahead and get back right to the body. Yep, I sort of like that. And then with the clothes there, what you would then kind of want to do is right, erase out that kind of stuff. Now this is actually a little long compared to what's flowing out up here, right? So in theory, we would want to, whoops, not ellipse, take this and then warp it a little bit. Yeah, like how would we want, yeah, exactly. We're gonna want that way higher, but that doesn't look as good. Now let's give this a duplicate, try this again. Whoops. And there we are, folks. That's pretty darn cute, right? I might take a little bit of the hard line out of these guys here, like here and here, just to show that she's got clothes on, right? You know, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so I would call that good for the outline of the pinup girl. And that way, you know, it's nice and suggestive. It's got a really cute pose to it. The fingers aren't too jacked up. Yeah, she doesn't have any toes with this given style here in the dress. I'd probably give her some high heels or something like that. You know, where you would give her some heels that came off like this. Followed that thing there. Nope, that's too high. Yeah, I like that. That works out pretty darn good. So yeah, that's how I would do a pinup design. If you want to stick around, I'll go ahead and color it, but I'm not going to talk while I'm doing it. I am just going to just make it happen really fast because this tutorial is already way too long. Yeah, folks, let me know what you think. Let me know, yeah, if there's anything I missed or if anything we can touch on in the comments below. But other than that, you folks have a great day and thanks for watching.